Hello Dark Souls 2 fans, and welcome back to another episode of Methodical Gamer. By the title of this video you can already guess we're looking at a Havel build today. All of the armor is upgraded to +5 as well as the Dragon Tooth. Didn't make my way around to the Havel Greatshield. I got tired of farming Twinkle and Titanite for this build. However, I do have a few reasons why. I have finally made the build that I promised I would never make. We'll get back to that story in a little bit. So first I'm going to do what I usually do and talk about the builds and the weapons and the armor, and then we'll talk about the build as a whole. So first, taking a look at the Dragon Tooth. So believe it or not, the Dragon Tooth is classified as a Great Hammer, which means it'll be dealing strike damage. As previously mentioned, the Dragon's Tooth is upgraded through Twinkle and Titanite. If you are planning on making a Havel build, this is something you want to consider a great deal when making your run through Dark Souls, because every single armor piece and the shield and the Dragon Tooth is all upgraded through Twinkle and Titanite. The minimum requirements for this weapon is 50 strength and 10 dexterity. Since the best moveset of the Dragon Tooth is with its one hand, you're going to want to have the full 50 strength. So keep this weapon under regular infusement for the highest scaling possible. Now let's talk about the Dragon Tooth and how it fits in with the build as a whole. The Dragon Tooth, the weapon itself, is adding 50 magic and 50 fire resistance to your build. So when you're cosplaying Havel and you're trying to tank magic from sorcerers and you're trying to take fire from pyromancers, this is going to help a lot. When I was making a quote-unquote Havel build, I didn't want to be one of the Havels that was using a katana to attack fast and roll out of the way. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to cosplay Havel. I wanted to have the image of Havel the Rock from Dark Souls 1. This weapon is slow. You have to be patient with it. You have to learn to be reactive to your opponent and read what they're going to do next to actually make this weapon work. Any of you know by now, if you sling a weapon at a competitive PvPer, they're going to dodge it every time and possibly parry it. I know you can't parry some of the attacks from the Dragon Tooth, but you can pretty much dodge every single one of them. My build as of right now has 137 poise. I don't say that this weapon needs that much poise to be used, but it helps a lot. You can actually bait in your opponents, and you can catch them with an R1 after they've already attacked you. So now let's talk about the two biggest pros of this weapon. First of all, this thing hits like a freaking truck. It's got 470 base physical damage coming from it. That is a lot. That's not even mentioning the bonus you're going to get from the ace scaling and strength. Now the second pro of this weapon is it can be 2-hit comboed. A lot of slow weapons like the Black Knight Great Axe cannot. So when someone says they fought a Havel build in the arena, what's the first thing you think of? You don't think of the weapon, because that changes now in Dark Souls 2. You don't think of the shield. Nobody really uses the shield. What you think of is the armor, at least 3 or more of the pieces of armor the person was wearing. That's what you think when someone says, fought a Havel build. Personally, I throw these people into two different categories. If you're fighting a quote-unquote Havel build, I think of what I'm playing with now. I usually classify anyone else as a Havel monster. I would place bets that 90% of what you see is not really a Havel build, but yet a Havel monster. People that are making Havel builds are wanting to cosplay Havel. People that are quote-unquote Havel monsters are people using high defense armor so they can attack fast and tank through all of yours. But anyways, that's what I want just to get out of the way of the two classifications I have for people wearing Havel's armor. I really don't have anything to say about the armor itself besides what you guys already know, is it's got high defense in almost every stat, and you can tank through almost everything. Okay, now it's time to tell my story. The reason why I made a Havel build, the build that I promised myself I would never make. It was through irritation, and I mean, hold up, it's not through irritation with the community, it's not through irritation with other players in the community, it has nothing to do with PvP at all. This irritation is 100% related to PvE. Before I make a build for you guys, I sit down, pencil and paper, figure out the stats, the weapon, the build. I lay everything out prior to even starting the game. So let me just go ahead and fast forward and say Havel was not my first choice for making this build. When I made it, I'm glad I did. I actually learned a lot making it, and I'm glad I made it because I felt playing as Havel was super easy, and I figured out there's a lot to master when playing as Havel. But yeah, Havel wasn't my first choice, and I had another build in mind. Well, you ask what happened. I mean, what could have possibly happened to make you switch your builds? It wasn't on a weapon I've done before, and it wasn't that if you do something in the game you can't get the weapon. It was nothing like that. It's actually a weapon that drops from an enemy, and that's the exact problem. The weapon I was going to make for my next build has a 3% drop rate from an actual enemy. I'm not going to ruin which weapon because I might actually make the build in the future, but yeah, it has a 3% drop rate. In short, the RNG hates me. I had the Gold Covetous Serpent Ring +2. I had Jester's Cap. I had the Prisoner's Tatters. I had the Rusted Coin even, I used a few times. So I had every possible item to raise my item discovery to the maximum level. So after an hour and 45 minutes, you heard me right, an hour and 45 minutes, I gave up. I literally threw my hands in the air and said, forget this build, I'm going to go reallocate all my stat points and make a new build. So, just to show, not the game is broken, I mean there's ways it's broken in PvP, but it's also broken in PvE, that I went and I collected the Dragon Tooth, and the entire armor set, and the Havel Greatshield, all in under 5 minutes. Now before I get too carried away, I am thankful for things like Wrath of Gods being a bit harder to get in this game than in Dark Souls 1 and a few other things. So I don't blame the community, I blame Dark Souls, I blame Namco Bandai. I mean, did they really want somebody playing with this weapon? It's not a broken weapon. I mean, there are plenty of other weapons in that class type that outclass it easily. And even FromSoft. FromSoft knows that Havel monsters were a problem in Dark Souls 1. They made it just as easy to get the armor in Dark Souls 2. It's like they want this problem to be in the game. So yeah, that's my end of the story of why I chose to end up playing as Havel. Maybe one day I'll try for that other weapon. I mean, I'm going to try to get through every weapon in Dark Souls, and I'm going to try to farm for it again. Maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. I don't know. But that's just a thought for us to ponder on, more or less. I mean, we talk about things in the game being broken, but we look at how easy it is to obtain these items. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think I'm complaining about a problem that isn't there, or do you think I might have a point to what I'm saying? Guys, as always, I appreciate your time and thanks for watching. And until next time, play smart and keep on winning.